Great to be here again, and thank you for having me here. My name is Marek Dykta. I work at admissions office in Boston, and my job is I recruit students from Europe, from Middle East, and from Africa. So I get to travel to Israel, and we were just talking with Ishar because we are became close friends, I guess. After 8 years of me visiting, when I started the job back in 2013, I think Israel was my first trip. So that was something interesting. And I'm from Poland originally. I'm a guitar player. I went to Berklee years ago, since similar period than Ishar. And I spent about 15 years in New York after finishing the school. And I'm a jazz guitar player, trying to stay active in music. But I really enjoy helping young people to develop their careers. And I'm very involved in finding talented students for Berklee, traveling around the world, and really enjoy my job. So it's good to connect, your things that you love with your work. I mean, that's what we strive for when we are trying to become professional musicians. So I'll talk more about these things today that possibly can help you to develop your careers. So what I'll do is we'll do a bit of an info session about Berklee programs, Berklee new things, what have we done lately to develop the school, and feel free to ask questions. Possibly, maybe chat would be the best way. I'm going to monitor the chat and try to answer as we go. And also at the end of the session, we can obviously spend some time answering your questions directly. So if you are ready, I'm going to share my screen and we can start with this. If everybody's ready, you guys ready? Oh, good. By the way, just wanted to also introduce a couple of our people before we start. Ray, who is hosting today's meeting, works for Global Initiatives Office, which is one of the pillar offices at Berklee that connect Berklee to the world. And Amanda Goldthorpe is also involved in that office. And so they are part of today's meeting. Obviously, Ishar. Ishar is a main man when it comes to connecting with Rimon. And, he's been helping us for many years. And he's a very important part of what we do with connection with your school. Obviously, there's a huge amount of talent coming from Israel to Berklee, so we're always happy to be able to spend time with you and talk to you about what are the options for the future. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, so can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so this is my name. If you'd like to connect with me, the best way is to email AD, which is Assistant Director, ad@berklee.edu. That way you can connect with me directly. What we'll talk today about is things such as mission, philosophy, vision, for what's coming up in about 3 years already, and some new things such as Berklee, New York City, and other things that we've developed recently when we expanded the school. As far as history, I think it's important to know these things about Berklee. History is something that really, created the core of what we do at Berklee today. And these guys that you see in the picture here, it's not an accident, I guess, that you see them here. Herr Pomeroy, who's standing, is the trumpet player who was a pillar at Berklee for many years. He was a great teacher. We had a chance to study with him. I think, Ishar, you had a chance to study with him. I had an ensemble with him only, but he was a person who really helped to develop what Berklee is today. Duke Ellington, down there is a musician that you all know. But, that tradition of Berklee and traditional approach to education comes from jazz tradition, which back in the day when Berklee was established in 1945, that was a predominant kind of style when you would teach somebody contemporary music. However, this developed over the years, and we really branched out into many different areas, and there's a lot of different things available at Berklee today, and jazz is not a predominant style of music that's being played at Berklee, but still, it's important to what we do, and that's how it started. Things that happened since then, there's a big gap here between 1945 and 2002, but in the middle of that, we established things such as music synthesis and the film scoring program, and guitar, which was an electric instrument, was introduced at Berklee, I think, back in 1961. So things like that show you that we try to stay on top and be really on the cutting edge of what's offered in music. The Spain campus in Valencia opened in 2012. We merged with Boston Conservatory in 2016, which is a classical school. Established electronic digital instrument as a major principal instrument in 2018, and 2020 we opened a new campus in New York City. Now we have new program this year. The first class will start in September, which is Bachelor of Arts in Music Industry Leadership and Innovation. So in brief, I mean, this shows you that kind of we try to develop. The school is very dynamic, and we try to really bring new things to the table, which is for you important because you need to get the tools to be successful in music business. Now, Berklee became a big institution, and there's several different areas, such as different campuses. The main campus is still in Boston. That's where the action is, and that's where we have about 4,500 students from 100 different countries that collaborate, create different projects, and really this is the biggest hub of talent when it comes to what Berklee is. We have two programs taught in Boston when it comes to undergraduate. There's degree and diploma, there's 14 different majors. Other than that, there's also graduate programs in a limited way, meaning that there's not as many students involved in that, but the program that is very known is Global Jazz Masters, which we admit about 20 people in, but everybody gets a full scholarship. That's nice. Other than that, there's a lot of summer programs, a lot of different options. Really too many to tell you at this point, but when we go on, I'll keep talking about what kind of things you can encounter at Berklee. So let me just see, we have chat here. Yeah, so there's some questions that come in while I talk about it. What does the new major include? Well, the new major is the Bachelor of Arts in Leadership, and the main difference is that this major doesn't require you to play a musical instrument. So we do still have traditional music business when it comes to what Berklee is pursuing, which is being musician first, then a specialist in several areas. But Bachelor of Arts in Leadership doesn't require you to be a performing musician. That's the main difference. Okay, let's keep going. The online school is a separate school that has a different admissions department, and it also doesn't require you to study full-time. So what's good about it is you can take classes a la carte, or you can even complete the full program. But that school is less expensive and more accessible because you can study from anywhere, and opportunities are still pretty big, and the faculty that teach online are the same faculty that teach at Berklee. So it's a viable option when it comes to saving money, or just coming to Berklee virtually and studying only things that you're interested in. Okay, let's keep going. Valencia is a campus in Spain that has been established now 10 years ago already, and we teach graduate programs in Valencia. There are 4 different options, as you can see: production, technology, innovation, contemporary performance, global entertainment and music business, and scoring for film. We do also have an opportunity for students who enroll in Boston to study in Valencia for a semester or more. Let me show you a video that kind of explains how Valencia works. Okay, so that's Valencia. Interesting thing that we were able to establish. There is kind of connection with the European music market and flamenco music, and there's a lot of interesting influences that are absorbed into Berklee via that campus. It's good to have this, and it's something that's been beneficial to Berklee. Another thing we've done recently is the merger with Conservatory, which is a classical school. Now, Conservatory is a typically classical school that has separate program from Berklee and has separate admissions process. But what it does to our community is brings, people who are interested in a bit different things than typical Berklee students, which is classical music, and the opportunities to collaborate between, Conservatory and Berklee students are really what is maybe the most important aspect of that merger. So it gives you another option to collaborate with dancers, for instance. They also have the musical theater department, and there are several courses that you can cross-register between both schools. The EDI is the electronic digital instrument that I mentioned. We established this about 5 years ago, and this is something that allows you to play the audition for Berklee using computer as your main instrument, as a tool to create live performance. Let me show you the video that shows how that works.
Each new generation has a different viewpoint on how they should express themselves musically.
Jimi Hendrix played the mixer like it was a musical instrument.
At one point in time, a violin was a new piece of technology. Piano was a new piece of technology. When it comes to digital instruments, it's the same idea. It's just an endless array of possibilities.
Technology is a part of everything today.
We're consumed with digital media, digital devices, and of course artists are going to take that and make beautiful artwork with it.
Having the laptop now be looked at as an instrument, having the turntable become an instrument, having the sampler become another instrument is allowing the students to take it to new levels.
Today we want to announce the electronic digital instrument as a principal instrument here at Berklee. The electronic digital instrument, or the EDI, is really made up of 3 components. Some sort of computer or computing system, user-configured software, and some sort of controller. Oftentimes, players will have more than one controller.
People can develop these performance systems that are just so expressive and dynamic and versatile in ways that haven't really been possible before.
This is going to have a huge effect on the industry because people will be able to read music, to think about harmony, how form works in a classical sense, and how to relate that to what other musicians are doing.
And they can be alongside of the traditional instruments, whether you're playing the bass, whether you're playing the drums, or even the harp.
I almost take the electronic instrument as being a multi-instrumentalist for the new generation, for the new student.
We're going to see collaborations that we never imagined.
Pop musicians use it, reggaeton musicians use it, symphonic composers, jazz musicians use it. The electronic digital instrument is the place where musicians of all styles from all around the world meet.
Having the EDI program is really a step towards changing the game in electronic music.
Yeah, so EDI has been around for about 5 years, as I mentioned before. It's developing nicely. It kind of brings, other type of talent to Berklee, which is not typical traditional instrumentalists, but people who are interested more in instrumental music that is created with electronics. Another thing that is important that we've just done recently is opening a new campus in New York City, which is a big deal because, as you all know, New York is where the action is when it comes to music. I spent 15 years in New York myself, and so I can tell you that it's been very interesting to be a musician there and collaborate with others and really learning from people from all around the world. I mean, there's a big hub for talent in New York, and there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate. The place which we were able to acquire is called Power Station. It used to be called Avatar. It's a recording studio established back in the 80s by the brother of John Bon Jovi, and it's become a very famous music studio with specific sound that really is a place where a lot of very known music was recorded. A lot of jazz albums, Pat Metheny albums, Caulfield albums were done there, a lot of rock albums, a lot of Broadway things, and the studio has a very specific sound. So we are able to get the studio. We refurbished it. However, we kept the original ambience, and so not much was changed when it comes to acoustics. But now we have a campus in New York City where we teach graduate programs. I can tell you that those became very popular. First semester we were already over capacity there. So let me show you a video that kind of explains what's going on there.
New York is what you dream about.
New York is late-night television shows.
New York is vibrant.
It's the ultimate testing ground.
The epicenter.
New York is drive.
Ambition.
Electricity.
Skyscrapers. Theater.
New York is the arts.
New York is the music mecca of the world.
Berklee is the ultimate incubator.
Berklee is community.
Berklee is exciting.
It's energy.
Technology.
Cutting edge.
Berklee coming together with New York is going to be explosive.
Berklee in New York will be immersive.
Where it's all happening.
Where students can have experience right outside their doorstep.
Is going to be a game changer.
The Master of Arts in Creative Media and Technology at Berklee NYC will have 3 specializations. Live Experience Design, also known as LED.
Students in LED will get an amazing course in state-of-the-art video production, large LED wall installations, projection mapping, and multi-channel sound design for live events.
An integrated approach to songwriting and production.
Students in the songwriting and production specialization will be immersed in the technology of beat making and music production, and will be constantly collaborating with their peers, experiencing all of the roles of the contemporary writing room, including top lining and lyric writing.
Writing and design for musical theater.
Students will pursue an organic approach to storytelling, considering the look and feel of the worlds their characters inhabit, while taking an idea from inception to the stage. They'll also have the opportunity to record their songs in the same studios where Broadway cast albums are made.
Now is the time to reimagine your career.
When you're ready.
When you're ready.
Come join us.
So, you know, this program requires having bachelors of music to apply. So it might not be something that all of you are ready to do at this point, but I can tell you from a standpoint of just musician that, you know, having that studio as a part of Berklee is a big deal, because it is really a famous place with a great tradition, and historically, you know, I can tell you that, I mean, the amount of music that was recorded there is amazing, and the quality is some of the best we all know. So it's become an icon of the music business. And I know when I was living in New York that there was a lot of attempts to buy out this building because it's in Hell's Kitchen, you know, 59th Street, around like West Side. And so there's a lot of developers wanted to buy that building and really kind of dismantle the studio. But so we are lucky to be able to get this and save it. As we all know, you know, music industry changes. A lot of music is done and recorded at home. But that studio still has an important role, and I'm happy that we have it as a part of Berklee as a musician, simply as that. So hopefully when you come to Berklee, you'll be able to record there maybe. Now, the Bachelor of Arts in Music Industry Leadership and Innovation is a new program. Just we started admissions process this year, and we just admitted the first class, which will receive their decisions at the end of March. What's interesting about this is a program that doesn't require you to play a musical instrument. So what you focus on is music business, and the admissions process is different. It's based on an interview and a submission of your portfolio, and basically, you know, kind of what kind of vision do you have for changes in music business? What do you see can be improved? So this is for people who are focusing on the music business, simply speaking. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops. We had quite a big group of interested people who are talented. I had a chance personally to see their interviews, so I can tell you that it's exciting to see the amount of talent. So hopefully it will work for us and you. Summer programs, another opportunity to kind of get connected with Berklee. If you're not ready to come full-time or you want to get a taste, this is mostly designed for younger students who shop for different opportunities to learn about Berklee. There's a lot of these programs, about 30. They vary from a weekend all the way to full semester. There's also scholarships offered for the Aspire 5-week program. Keep in mind that the level of these programs is possibly not as high as undergraduate because we don't have an admissions process. We don't really limit anybody that wants to come. So, yes, there is a question about musical theater. Yes, musical theater is offered by a conservatory. So there's a separate admissions process for that. And you would go to a conservatory website and connect with their admissions office. We have separate people who work for conservatory in the admissions office. Myself, I work for Berklee, and I obviously talk about conservatory because it's a part of what Berklee is. But when it comes specifically to applying for musical theater, that goes to their different channels, and you apply through conservatory. That's how this works. Okay. So as far as housing, yeah, I mean, this slide is here because, you know, housing is an important part of your college experience, especially for American students. So we are able to offer housing for everybody who's interested. There's a big new building that's been around now for about 8 years or so that houses students, plus all the other buildings around the campus. Everything is within walking distance. And, you know, mostly students from Rimon, from my experience, try to live off campus. It's a bit less expensive. But if you're interested in living on campus, it's available. Those are the majors that are currently available at Berklee. So if you can see, there's quite a few of them. And there's 2 of them that are new. The ones on the bottom, independent recording and production, and games and interactive media scoring. Now, what is the most important information about all these options, and how do you choose one, and how does it affect you as a musician? Well, look, I talk to students quite a bit, and this is an area which all of them are interested in, because you are all interested in a specific thing in music in the future. Now, what is important thing to know is how does it work, and at which point do you pick that major, and how does it affect your admissions process? For instance, if you're interested in songwriting, do you audition for Berklee in a different way? So it's good to understand how the process works. When you apply to Berklee, you put your personal information, you choose the audition time and date, and then you come to audition for us. And the audition is the same regardless of your interest in any major. You do pick a major when you apply, but this is a declaration of interest in that major. It's not a binding decision that will affect your admissions process or your audition. So that means even if you're interested in film scoring or music production and engineering, you are still required to play an instrument or sing at the audition. We do take into account your interests, and we, you know, are interested in what you want to do in the future. But since you're going to be assigned to a specific instrumental department when you come to Berklee, which is your instrumental department or vocal, the first 2 semesters you study general type of subjects that build up your music foundation. After you complete 24 credits, then you are able to declare a major, and then you start specializing. So the initial part of your education is the same for everyone. So that means that picking that major is the decision that is going to be available to you only after you complete 24 credits. It usually takes 2 semesters. Now, students who are at Rimon and they are on Berklee track, they complete decent amount of credits prior to coming to Berklee, and they will be able to declare these majors earlier. You can think about, you know, those majors in a bit different way, but still your audition will look the same as everybody else's. So that would be the difference. And now, you know, as far as the point where you pick the major and how does it affect you? Well, look, I mean, it's an important decision, because if you're a musician, you want to learn as many different things as possible, so you have as many possible tools, you know, as possibly possible to be a versatile musician who can really survive in music business, because it's not the easiest way to make a living, so you have to be versatile. So what that means to me is, you know, giving you more time to decide which major you want to pick is a good thing, because as a young person, you know, your perspective changes, you learn as you go, and the interest you have now might change after you come to Berklee when you start talking to people, seeing what people do. seeing what do we offer, your perception of what's possible in music education will change. So it's good to have an opportunity to have a little bit of time to declare the major. So I wouldn't rush that decision. You can also combine two majors, and you can also declare professional music major, which is about picking and choosing different areas and creating your own curriculum. So there's quite a bit of flexibility. And what I can tell you also, that students that I see coming to Berklee with pretty high level of musical skills usually try to develop in the areas that they haven't developed before. For instance, if somebody comes in and is a good performer, usually they would study something different to supplement their skills in a different area. That doesn't mean that you cannot perform at Berklee. You can collaborate, play music with many people, but if you want to learn something new, pick a major that you're not that familiar with, and you still continue to performance in a different way as well. So again, to me, the amount of information here is huge, and 14 different options. Don't get too anxious about picking one, because there's time to do this. And also, give it a bit of time to find out what's going on at Berklee, because the student body at Berklee is really our most important asset, other than academic side. You talk to students, you will see maybe what is hot at this time. What's happening. I mean, what are people working on, and that kind of takes a bit of time, at least maybe a semester. So you don't have to think of that you have to declare this major immediately. Give it a little bit of time. Yeah, so minors, I'll show you some minors. Somebody's asking about minors. Here's the minors that we have at Berklee. And again, I mean, look, there's a lot of different options, and those minors, as you see here, they are not, this is just a fraction of what we offer. So to me, the bottom line is, don't get preoccupied about these many opportunities at Berklee, because you don't have to make the decision now. Right now, when you are here for the info session, your focus is, how do I prepare to get into Berklee? How do I maximize my chances to get a scholarship? And then all these decisions come later. And all these options are there for you. And I assure you that we really try to make you happy at Berklee, because it's an expensive school. So you need to be satisfied, and we are flexible. So there's no wrong decisions being made where you couldn't reverse. We talk to you, trying to understand what you're interested in. You can visit departments, talk to teachers, and pick all these things as you go. So the minors, again, look, from my experience, and I think Israel agrees, and all the other guys that are kind of, we've been in the business a bit longer, and you can say that all these different minors and things are important to a certain degree. Maybe there are some other areas, such as your ability to network, your business mind, your overall talent. I mean, really, there's too many variables to be able to predict that if you take a specific minor, that gives you an advantage. I would think you do whatever you're interested in, but music business is very unpredictable. So it's hard to tell that if you take this minor or this major, you would have more options in the future. So really, that comes from my experience. I know, Iskar, what do you think? Do you agree?
Yes, I mean, it's pretty amazing to see how this whole thing has grown. On the other hand, when I first came to New York, I almost got a job at Power Station. You don't want to know how long ago that was. And then I went into a studio in New York, and I saw Gil Evans, and everything changed.
Yeah.
And I wanted to study jazz composition. So, and in one sense, everything has really expanded in a major, multi-disciplinary way, in a major way. On the other hand, I think the core is still the same. So it's kind of interesting to see this from this perspective. A lot of technology for sure. That's huge, huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, because we both kind of come from the same generation. We had about 30 years experience looking at things, and also working in education, I'm always interested in observing students and seeing somebody who comes to Berklee as a talented student and then a few years later started developing a major career. What happened?
Yeah.
How did he do this? What decided that this particular student now is a major player? Did he take a specific major? Did he meet specific people, you know? And I can tell you from my observation that students I know that succeeded, I mean, they just had talent and they had business acumen, and combination of both kind of gives you an option. But the majors they studied, I mean, those are more maybe detailed things that can help you if you get a particular opportunity. But when it comes to be successful in a broad sense, it's difficult to predict. Take this major and you're going to be successful. I don't think it's possible, you know. So
Absolutely agree,
being open
yes.
and just doing what you're interested in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Very hard to predict, yes.
Cool. So yeah, you know, I'm trying just to kind of give you more peace of mind, because when you look at all these options, I know that there's a lot of questions and people start asking about particular classes. What do I do here? What do I do this semester? Trying to kind of program their way through music education. My sense is that it's not as important as kind of being open and, you know, taking things as they come at the specific point where you are. That's why what I mentioned before. Today you are at the info session, you're at a specific point with your development. Right now it's important that you get ready for audition and you get maybe a scholarship. Focus on that. All the other things, majors, minors, they look great and they just tell you that there's plenty of options, but leave it a bit later to worry about and focus on things at hand. Okay. Yeah, so other than that, you know, all these other slides, they kind of show you what you can expect at Berklee. We do have quite a bit of things that are available to you, like 27 studios, you know, performance venues, student concerts. That slide basically tells you this. There's a lot of options to collaborate. There's a lot of gigs to be had at Berklee. The more networking ability you have, the more you're going to play. Not everything is pre-programmed and offered to you on the table, because Berklee is a kind of microcosm of the real world when it comes to music, where competition is the most important factor. And whoever is kind of more, you know, inventive and talented and able to talk to people, that helps you to get all these opportunities at Berklee. That said, you're going to have a chance to record music. You're going to have a chance to perform your recital. There's foreign ensembles. What that means is when you come to Berklee as a candidate, be sure to be able to play different styles of music, because those are the students who usually get scholarships at Berklee, because we need to have students who are able to collaborate and kind of, you know, work with others. Ability to read music, ability to play different styles. That's important. That's the factors that kind of help you to get scholarship. A lot of different options at Berklee, including clubs, enterprises. There's radio network. And there's also Career Resource Center that kind of collects information from many different areas and connects students with companies that look for talented people. Now, how this works, there's a specific office. You come down there, you see what they have. There's a website that lists different gigs. If you need to learn how to conduct an interview or with somebody, or, you know, write a resume, there are people employed in the office that teach you how to do this. So we are mindful of the options. And, you know, there's quite a bit of traffic when it comes to outside entities connecting with Berklee, because Berklee has a big reputation. So people come to Berklee looking for talent. And so those are your options to kind of connect with these guys. And also a lot of faculty have careers in the music business, you know, so that all is kind of the area that kind of tells you, okay, what are my options? What is it that I gain after, you know, finishing Berklee? Do you help me to get established? That's what we do when it comes to the answer. Now, there's also these alumni that finished Berklee. Well, to me, the importance of this slide is that you will have a chance to interact with talented people at Berklee, because we see these guys coming out of Berklee and being, you know, major players in the business. So that means that at any point of time, there are probably people like this studying at Berklee who might not be famous yet, but you will be able to meet a lot of talented people from around the world and learn from them. That was, to me, one of the major reasons for coming to Berklee, I came from Poland, from a small school with few musicians. I had to really reshuffle my understanding of my own level when I came to Berklee, even though I had a bachelor's or rather master's of music already. But being in a company of a lot of talented people allows you to find your own voice by comparison and by getting information about how other people approach music, how do they sound. Originality is one of the most important virtues in music. So being in a big environment of people from 100 countries, that really helps to develop that. That's the example of the talent that we have at Berklee. Those lists of companies, obviously, we don't guarantee that you get hired by one, but yes, they come to Berklee and they offer internships and they connect with Berklee. So yes, and we do also have a lot of different options, such as there's, for instance, Career Jam happening, I think, next week at Berklee, where we have specific people from these companies as speakers, and they come and talk about the business and they will interact with you. So yes, Berklee is a draw for talent from both sides. Now, the process of application, I'm sure you know already about this, but it's very simple. You go to the website berklee.edu/apply, you submit your application with the basic personal info. There's an application fee that you have to pay, $150. For students who are not able to pay this, we offer an option to waive it. You have to email admissions at Berklee to ask for that. There's no questions asked if you need to do this. You submit supplemental materials, which are your academic transcripts. If you are on Berklee track at Rimon, it's a very simple process. You just submit it directly. If you went to another school, that has to go through the credential evaluations agency that transforms that academic information into American terms. Now, there's also audition and interview required, which follows. You pick the audition date and time from within your application, and then you get confirmation from auditions that will tell you exactly what time and date can you audition. Now, as far as the last 2 years, because of pandemic, we already had limited options to audition everybody face-to-face live at the school or at the place where you live, because we travel around the world and we come to Rimon every year. For the past 2 years, we were not able to do this. We did everything online, pretty much all of these auditions. That's the same process. It's the same type of procedure. It happens live. Obviously, it's probably more comfortable for you to be in the same room with the faculty because they are more supported that way, and there's less of the technical difficulties. But we have the process that allows you either to audition online, or I'm really hoping we'll be back in Rimon in December, and we'll see you face to face. As far as the audition and supplemental materials first. Well, I mentioned about this to you if you are on the Berklee track. Ishar has all the details about how to submit this. It's a very simple process. Now, what is the importance of the academic transcripts? It's one of the elements that the Board of Admissions takes into consideration when it comes to admission, and also they weigh heavily on your scholarship chances. I mean, for the past few years, we started really looking closer at your academic level, because according to the data that we have, the better student you are in the past, the more likely you're going to be successful in the future when it comes to studying at Berklee. So we don't require specifically musical education, although at Rimon you get this, but the quality of your grades is important. It really helps you to be admitted and get a scholarship. Other things such as SAT or ACT scores are not necessary, and we don't require them. The level of English is required, and there's two-step process to check your English. First point is when you interview for us, then we really assess your English for the first time, and also you have to submit English test with specific score. We accept TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo. TOEFL needs to be 72, IELTS 6.0, and Duolingo 110. All of these are listed on the Berklee website. You can send the TOEFL tests after you audition, and it's not required for you to get the decision. But after you get the decision, you're admitted, you have to send it before you can take care of your visa. So that's the kind of the progression, and at which point do you submit this again. Board of Admissions will issue your decision before you submit this, but in order to be enrolled at Berklee, you have to send the TOEFL. We need to make sure that your English is up to par. Okay. Now, the audition. It's important, you know, and I spent quite a bit of time talking about this and also trying to demonstrate how do you maximize your chances to get admitted and get a scholarship. It consists of several different areas. There's prepared piece, improvisation, sight reading, and e-training. And, you know, what is the most important part of the audition? You can imagine if we don't have any pre-screening process, we invite everybody to audition that wants to do this. There's no requirements to finish in a school. There's nothing that we really need to see before you audition. So we meet you for the first time when you have your instrument in your hand or sing, and you know the first few minutes of your interaction with faculty, it's really important because, as you know, if somebody is a great musician, it is really apparent after a few measures that they have sound, they have tone, they have good time, and they are good musicians. You know, it's really amazing kind of a part of music where quality is communicated very quickly. Obviously, the audition takes 15 minutes, and it's not a big chunk of time where you can perform at length. So I would focus on the prepared piece. Just to make it clear. What it is when you present yourself to us, you show your level of ability as an instrumentalist, you show what are your preferences stylistically, and any style of music is welcome. And you kind of establish yourself as a musician, and that part does affect the other parts of the audition in a way that we do adjust the level of difficulty of your improvisation exercise, of your e-training exercises towards what you've shown us during the prepared piece. So keep it in mind, the prepared piece is important. And I always, kind of suggest to students who are not sure what to play, well, look, if you take private lessons, talk to your teacher and see what is the type of music and musical piece that represents your musical skills in the best way. There's things such as competence as a musician that is really important, and then there's originality. It's another part that kind of will help you to stand apart from other people that we audition, which is about 3,000 people every year. So if you want to perform your original piece of music, it's a good option. Make sure that the quality of this music is comparable to the standard repertoire. Things that show really your musicianship in the best way, that should be your priority. It doesn't have to be very much technically advanced or difficult. Keep in mind you might get nervous, but that the prepared piece is important. That's why I'm spending quite a bit of time telling you more about this and how do we kind of assess your skills. What do we see on the other side? My job at Berklee is I do take part in the admissions process and I read notes from the auditions. So I think I have a decent understanding of what is being valued. And so if you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email and ask for more details. Improvisation is required from everybody. It's not that everybody needs to be an expert improviser, but the ability to interact with other musicians on stage is important at Berklee because we do have those 400 ensembles, remember? So you have to be able to play with other musicians. Now, during this time, I mean, obviously music is kind of developing, and especially during pandemic, there's a lot of playing solo and producing yourself at home, not that much opportunity to interact. And we're mindful of that, especially when I interview students. And lately I've been asking them, so what's your performance experience? And I hear, well, not much because there was pandemic, So it's important that we, that you are aware that we know that. But certain things that you develop by playing with other musicians on stage are really very important, and so look for opportunities to play with other musicians. That's in short what I'm trying to tell you. Sight reading is a part of audition as well. There's level appropriate examples that we show you that start with very easy pieces of music about 8 measures long, and if you are good, you're gonna be asked to play a few of them. As much as we don't stress really the necessity of you to read, I can tell you that if you're going for a scholarship, you should be able to read music because, again, that helps you to interact with other musicians at Berklee. So if you're a good reader, you come to the ensemble and you play the music. So that's what's important when it comes to thinking about a scholarship. E-training has two parts. There's melodic and rhythmic e-training. the melodic in training is basically call and response exercise where we check the connection between your ear and your instrument. You're given a phrase and you play it back on your instrument. Very simple process, kind of just shows you if you can replicate something that you hear using your instrument or voice. The level of difficulty also can be different depending on your ability. We start with simple phrases. If you're good, we can make them a bit more complicated. And there's also a part where you are asked to recognize triads, major, minor, diminished, augmented. If you're good at this, maybe you will recognize some seventh voicings. But this is all adjusted towards the level of your ability. We do require some basic skills in this department, but how far do we go with the difficulty of the exercises depends on your ability. Okay, do you have any questions about audition? You know, when it comes to also how do you maximize your chances, and I spoke about this before, because you know, it's not a mystery that all students are interested in a scholarship at Berklee, and it's quite possible to get a decent scholarship. But the more you know about the audition and the better you prepare, the better chance you stand. And you know, my kind of observation when I look at students and read their audition is that kind of having a good understanding of your own level and ability to kind of work on what you need to work on is important, you know, and that comes with having a good teacher who will give you an honest opinion, and also maybe you should record yourself, you know, it's kind of like having a, you know, mirror for a dancer, so to speak. So being able to assess your own skills helps you to be realistic when it comes to expectations for a scholarship. Keep in mind that we do audition 3,000 students around the world. I mean, a lot of talented students come to Berklee, so it's not very easy to get a decent scholarship, but it's certainly possible if you know how to prepare and if you know how to, you know, really perform well, and you get a good feedback from somebody who works with you on an everyday basis. Okay. So the style of music make a difference? Does it make a difference? Well, look, it doesn't, because we don't limit students and we don't suggest play this style of music or the other. Obviously, there are some misconceptions about playing jazz for Berklee. And for instance, you know, Berklee used to be perceived as a jazz school for many years. So some musicians think that if you play the jazz piece of music, it helps you to get a big scholarship. That's not correct, and I can tell you that it's not the type of music or style. It's the way you play it and the level you represent. You know, obviously, you know, the level of difficulty in music, I don't know, when it comes to talking objectively about how difficult is it to play a, you know, complex jazz piece versus a rock music. I mean, it's not the point. It's more about your musicianship, your stylistic ability, and your ability to interact with other musicians. So I couldn't tell you that there's a specific style of music that we value more than the other. It's about quality. It's really about how do you play it and your musicianship. Yeah. And so somebody's asking about production. So if somebody's strength is in production engineering, does this factor you know, make the difference in consideration for a scholarship? Well, so, you know, this comes kind of with what I mentioned earlier when I spoke about majors and how do they affect your audition, and how does your interests, how do your, you know, how your interest in production, does it affect your chances at Berklee to be admitted? Now, we do have a lot of people who are interested in production, obviously, and they come to Berklee and they audition. But keep in mind that Berklee, you know, is still a setup in a way that we think you should be a musician first, you play your instrument, and then after you attain certain level of musical skills, then you go into production and you become prolific producer. So because of that, your skills as an instrumentalist are the most important when it comes to being admitted and getting a scholarship. So yes, even if you produce music, you have to play an instrument fairly well in order to be admitted. So you're gonna be kind of in the same pool of people, you know, that play instrument as their main interest. Might seem a bit unfair, but you know, that's the way things are at this point, and we don't assess you know, somebody's quality mainly based on the submitted music, for instance, you know. However, we do have a process where you can submit your compositions and your productions, and we look at this separately, and this helps you to be admitted and get a scholarship. Is that a major criteria when it comes to awarding a scholarship? No, it is not, but it does help, and we are interested. That's the message here. It's not that we disregard the fact that you're more of a producer. So submit your production and your music to us, and it will help you to be admitted and possibly considered for scholarship. But on the other hand, I can tell you some of the examples from the past that, you know, I encounter people that would come to audition and they don't realize that they have to play an instrument because they think they are producers and they would just bring pre-recorded music. You know, that kind of is not something that we would like to see, and that's why we have these info sessions, this information. Keep in mind that if you even produce music, you have to play an instrument. Now, do we ignore the fact that you're more of a producer? We don't. We are interested in this. But because of first 2 semesters at Berklee, you study with all the other students and you study similar subjects, you're not going to be focusing on production during the first 2 semesters. Therefore, you have to be instrumentalist in a sufficient way to function. That's the bottom line. Okay, let's keep going. I'll watch the questions if you have any. Now the interview follows. The audition, it's 15 minutes of conversation. We have several areas that are posted online that we talk about, which is your preparation, your goals for the future, your motivation, how to come, why do you want to come to Berklee, how do you contribute to Berklee, and also lately we've been asking about diversity at Berklee. How do you feel about diversity? Does it affect your musical growth? But all these questions are posted online. There's no mystery about it, so it's easy to get prepared. Yeah, if you applied and been accepted, before you reapply, does the previous admission affect? Well, look, if you apply to Berklee and you're admitted, you are in our system, and so we see that information. Does that affect directly your next decision? Well, your next application and your audition is treated as a singular event that is separate. So we cannot tell you that if you are admitted in the past or got a scholarship that you will get the same treatment, the same result. It's not guaranteed. It wouldn't be fair. But do we have the information? Do we know that you're a good musician, that you got a scholarship in the past? Yes, we do. Are we interested in this? Yes, we are. So it's not a given that you'll get the same decision. But, you know, if you become a student at Berklee, we know about this, and we expect you to be of the similar level or possibly higher. That's the way it works. Okay, so we spoke about interview. There's several deadlines and things that we kind of go by when it comes to the timing of application. So, you know, there's 3 semesters at Berklee. You can start at any point. Doesn't make a difference if you start in the fall, in the spring, or in the summer. Academically speaking, it's the same. Obviously, this fall semester is the biggest, the more action. But the deadlines are more for you to take care of your application process as early as possible, because if you learn from us early, then you have more time to simply prepare and face all these challenges such as financial difficulties and things that are connected with paying for Berklee, and you have more time. So crossing the deadline is not going to be disqualifying you from being admitted. It's more of an encouragement, and as long as there's enough time to take care of your visa and payments, we take your application, but keep in mind that later you apply, the less time you have basically to take care of your business. So that's how the deadlines work at Berklee. Now, paying at Berklee, it's a difficult subject. I talk to students quite a bit about this, and there's no simple answers here that would take care of all these challenges. But that's why I spend so much time talking about audition, because in my opinion, the work you do prior to auditioning is the best investment in the future and the best option for you to take care of your financial things, because if you get a decent scholarship, that's when you can afford Berklee, So really, the work you've done before applying, and these years that you spent developing your musical skills, that's the most feasible investment in your future. Other than that, yes, you should plan for coming to Berklee and spending, you know, not 1 year, but finishing, because coming to Berklee for a short period of time doesn't really make much sense, because you're going to spend a lot of money and you're not getting much. Having a pathway towards Berklee via Rimon, that's one of the most feasible options, because that really saves you time and money, and it really shortens the stay at Berklee, which is, you know, equal to saving money, paying less. You know, things that come with financial opportunities and challenges. Again, the scholarship, the quality of grades, the performance at the audition are important. If you get in, you get some sort of a scholarship. We do have an appeal process. You can appeal that scholarship, and it's now available to anybody based on special circumstances that you represent. Used to be very limited, but now everybody can appeal. Does it yield huge results? From my experience, it doesn't double your scholarship. It can help you a bit. It usually takes quite a bit of effort and some time to be able to come and end up at Berklee. And I know it's a difficult process, and I'm there to help you as much as I can. But I try to really focus on important things when I talk to you, which is the level of your musicianship really is the best kind of, you know, guarantee that you will get a decent scholarship. So it's really something you can work on yourself. That's what I would say is the most important. And yes, we do have a lot of these scholarships. They come from different sources. Now, is there an amount of a scholarship you can count on? No. Is there a number of scholarships we have? No. It's all open, you know. There's a pool of money, comes from different sources, and then when you consider it, based on your quality, your grades, and the level of competition within a given year, you're getting some sort of a scholarship. It starts from $8,000 per year, all the way up to full scholarship is a possibility. How likely is it to get a biggest scholarship? I wouldn't say it's likely enough, so you rely on it solely. So don't count on a full scholarship outright and just allow that as the only option, because it's simply not as likely. But is it possible? Of course it is, and we see people every day. What's the percentage of these guys that get this? Pretty small, you know. So the most kind of common scholarship you see is about 40-50% for a very good musician, and then, you know, you'd be asked to cover the rest. It takes time, obviously, but again, there's no limitations, no specific amount of money, no specific amount of scholarships. It's all based on a given year. We do have quite a big budget, and I can tell you that somebody comes with a very good set of skills, they leave with the scholarship. That's the way it works. It's not that we kind of, you know, run out of money or space. It's always a possibility to get one. We do have employment on campus. If you're a student, you apply for work-study positions. Do they pay a lot of money? Not that much, but you can supplement your monthly expenses with a few $100s. There's a tuition management system. Does it allow you to break the payments into monthly installments every month? Not really. You pay the bulk up front and then you split the rest, but you have to repay kind of by September the full amount. So it's not kind of like a monthly payment, you know. All of these things, it's good to know a realistic kind of aspect of this, and you know, I'm more than happy to give you more information if you need some more info. Shoot me an email. You know, the global partners, and Rimon is one of the major ones. That's really a feasible option to save the money. I don't know of any better option. It cuts down the amount of time you spend, gives you half the credits, you come to Berklee, and you finish quicker, it costs less. So we do have quite a lot of them, but Rimon is the major partner for us. Okay. So yeah, next steps, you know, kind of knowing about what to prepare for the audition, I would think is the best step. Get as much feedback from maybe students that went through audition if you can. You know, there's a steady stream of students coming to Berklee from Rimon, and hopefully you can stay in touch with them, get some more information. But you can really always connect with me as well and ask me questions. We do have quite a lot of events at Berklee, especially during the past 2 years. Most of the stuff was done virtually, so there's things that happen. You're going to be getting some emails with some information. We do have an open house this Saturday. Actually, it's going to be streamed live, so a lot of options. Okay, so that's basically it. So let's see if you have any questions. Yeah, so the email, you know, there's two emails. Admissions@Berklee is the basic email that you can use and just ask general questions. And then my email is ad@berklee.edu. And that email works like this. If you apply to Berklee, you are then assigned to a specific counselor. And then if you email AD, you are directed to that person. So, you know, the process is pretty random. It's not all the guys from Israel these days that are assigned to me, but you know, you can always ask for me by name if you email AD, and if you want to just talk to me directly, I'll be more than happy to help you out. But those two addresses, they're easy to remember, and that's how you connect with us. Okay.
All right. Any more questions, people?
Yeah, I'm watching the chat.
Yeah, we have Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of answered all of them that came along during the conversation. Yeah, you know, it's in my opinion kind of look. There always can be things that you might be interested in, and obviously it's good to ask questions. But also, I would keep in mind what are the important things. Just to recap, at the point that you are, when you audition to Berklee, when you apply, how do you maximize your chances to get a scholarship? I think is number one. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's my sense traveling to Rimon and talking to students. That's usually the number one thing, you know. So be mindful of your grades at Rimon. Make sure you get the top grades. That really does affect the scholarship chances lately. And then be able to be a musician that is ready to show your skills during the audition in the best way. Be technically adept, good, competent musician who has good sound and good understanding of the style you play, and be able to interact with others musically, so that you can show us that when you come to Berklee, you're ready to collaborate. That's the type of a student that gets a scholarship at Berklee. Other than that, there's also a matter of competition, and you know, it's not a mystery that we have a huge, for instance, vocal department, and it's very difficult to get a huge scholarship as a vocalist at Berklee. You know, it's not to say that if you're a trumpet player, you automatically get a scholarship, but you know, it's a little bit easier. Just like, you know, in life, I mean, there's certain things that are very logical, and competition is one of these things that you are aware of. So, does it, you know, make sense for you to change the instrument? No, it doesn't. Just play an instrument that you play the best, you know, and submit good music if you write music, and submit maybe a good video if you have one. You know, the question of what do you submit to us as supplemental materials? I mean, we quite a few times, like when we sit with the Board of Admissions, if we have any doubts about a student, if you send us a video, we have a chance to see you perform. That helps. Is it required? It's not. Does it make or break your case? It doesn't. But when you think about what to send in, something that represents you as a musician in the best way is always the best. So your performance or the music that you play or you compose, written well, with a good music notation, kind of showing that you are a you know, professional musician, so to speak, in a way that, you know, you present yourself well. So that's what helps.
All right, Marek, I guess we have one last question from Gabriel, a high school student who goes to Rimon. They need both transcripts, right? High school and Rimon.
Yeah, so you know, students that apply to Berklee are usually still in high school. And we don't have to wait for you to finish the high school in order to consider you for a Berklee candidacy. So what you do is you send your transcripts from your high school that show your education up to the point where you apply. So this is from the last 2-3 years, whatever the amount of time you went to high school, and we look at all your grades, all your classes, and we try to understand who are you as a student. You're going to have to submit a graduation proof when you are admitted to Berklee, but we look during the application process and the quality of your academic education. So that comes across when you show us what you finished so far. And again, it doesn't have to be Rimon, can be any school that you attended. If you attended Rimon, it's easier process. If you go to another school, that has to be then submitted through Credential Evaluations Agency. You get the instructions within the application.
Sounds great. So is there anything else Isa or Amanda will add to wrap up? I mean, it's been amazing info session today, or 3 virtual days at Rimon. It was fantastic, but I want to give you Isa to just wrap it up a little bit.
Yeah, I will just say, this was a great session. Every session with Berklee, I learn more. Always, you guys are always coming up with all the new stuff. Very exciting. Thank you, Marek. Thank you, Amanda, Ray. It was really a great week. I will say for the Rimon students that I see here in front of me, we're a much smaller campus. You know how to reach me. You see me either walking between classes there, or you can reach me via email. I'm always in touch with Marek and with admissions and with global initiatives. And if we need any answers, we're pretty quick to get these answers. And we definitely hope to see you again in person as soon as possible. So let's hope next year we're back. Well, this year, hopefully in December, we're back to seeing you here and getting back to our business.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. And Rimon students, you know how to reach me. Whenever you need help, let me know.
So I pasted 3 very important URL links. First one is only available for Rimon students, our global partner students. There's a website that we actually create for partner school students. And second one is actually, we have every month, we have like a really incredible sessions like this. So you can just sign up. And the last one is interesting one that we are hosting something called the Berklee Ask Berklee Global Initiatives, which means that there's a one-on-one, almost like a one-on-one consultation on anything you ask us, we can answer you. So you can click those or bookmark those 3 URLs, and occasionally visit there to just see what's going on and what is up there and what's next. And personally, as Isa said, we love to be there in person pretty soon, and it's been wonderful 3 days from the game audio to songwriting to info session yesterday. It was fantastic, and I would love to see you in person pretty soon with our team and Isa and Marek. And yes, it's been fantastic a week. So thank you so much. Amanda, you want to say any last word?
I think you've summed it up, but as always, Izar, everyone at Rimon, it's always such a pleasure for us, whether we're online, but hopefully soon in person. It's always a joy for us to meet with all of you. We're always excited to see Rimon students on campus. Every time we connect with faculty for something with Rimon, they're always so excited because they're like, oh, the Rimon students are some of our best students. So it's a really special partnership. And as Ray said, the resources here, we're all available to you, Marek, Ray and myself, Jason in our office. And Izar is, as you know, he's the man. He's your go-to for everything related to the Berklee relationship. And anything you're struggling with or may need additional help just to understand, at any time, get in touch with any of us and we'll make sure that you get connected to the right people or resources. So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, everybody. So have a good night and see you all soon, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Marek.